Lesson 4.4, ways that we use percentages. One of the first ways that comes to mind when I think about percentages is calculating a tip in a restaurant. And there are several strategies that you can use to do that, to make an estimate very quickly without having to use a calculator or even a tip calculator. So let's take a look at one of those methods. So if my restaurant bill is $47.29, the first thing that I always do when I'm trying to estimate is I round the initial value to something that's really easy to work with. By really easy, I mean lots of zeros. So 47, I would say, is either close to 48, or I would just go ahead and bump it up to 50. And I would use an approximation here, or an estimation of $50 to calculate my tips, because then it's a lot easier. So if I want to do a 10% tip, normally, remember, you would just take 0.1 times the 50, and if you do that on your calculator, or if you know how to do that in your head, what you end up doing is multiplying the two, or when you multiply by 0.1, it just moves your decimal one place to the left. So your tip for 10% would be $5. Remember, the dollar sign goes on the left of the number, and so I'll show you like that all throughout. 15% tip is going to be 0.15 times 50, and this is a mechanical method of finding the percents, and then 0.2 or 0.20 times 50. And the other way that I can think about it is $5 if I want 20%. $5 is a 10% tip, so I'll just double it to get to 20%, and so that would make a $10 tip here. And then I know 15 is halfway in between 5 and 10, so that would make this a $7.50 tip. Okay, so those are quick ways that I would look at to calculate a tip in a restaurant. And once I know my tip amount, I can just add it on to my bill, and I can add it on to the original bill so that I'm not giving an outlandish tip. And it would be 47 plus 5, so 7 plus 5 is 2, so it would be 52, or it's 12, sorry, so it would be 52.29. If I add $10 on to a $47.29 bill, it would be $57.29. And the last bill, I might need to do that one on my calculator because I don't like to add the 50 cents, but I could actually do it, I think, 54.79. So let's try that. 54.79. And so what I did there, you can just add it, 7.5 plus $47.29, and I get 54.79 on my calculator as well. So you can do that by hand on your calculator, whichever you're more comfortable with. For this, again, you can multiply it out by doing 0.1, which is 10% turned into a decimal, and then multiply it by the amount of the bill and get the tip amount. These are all approximations because the first thing I did was rounded the amount of the bill to something that was easy to work with, which was $50 in this case. So go ahead and pause and take a minute to do the next bill, restaurant bill of $75.92.